Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV2. The main talking points on tonight's programme. Neil McCann believes Dundee can win trophies. Aberdeen boss Derek McInnes says the Dons need to fight for the right to be in the semi-final draw. Craig Thompson will take charge of the first Old Firm encounter of the season. Yeah, just a few of the talking points we'll be discussing, among other things, with Alan Ruff. And our bookroom guest is former Aberdeen and Celtic striker Joe Miller. Delighted to have Joe alongside us here. Let's have a look at some of the back page headlines. The Daily Record, first of all, and this is a reference to Rangers delighted that they'll have Josh Windass available for the Old Firm countdown, the game on Saturday at noon, and Dedryck Boyata in line for a new deal for Celtic. In the Sun, dead man walking, or dead man talking in fact, is Dedryck Boyata's new deal, and there's a possibility he could be in line for the game tomorrow against Dundee. And there's just a sidebar reference there. You had to clear Windass. No SFA charge for Windass over the gesture. And just a photograph there of Wayne Rooney heading to court for the drink driving charge. So that's the back page headlines. One of them there, just a talking point, Ruffy, on the Josh Windass. This one, it's a situation where I think Pedro Caixinha felt very strongly that there was no way he could be picking up any kind of ban for the gesture, because other people have made gestures, you know, Kyle Lafferty going into the dugout when he was playing for Hearts against Celtic, Neil Lennon towards the fans in the Hibs Rangers match at Ibrox, and I was looking at it, and the SFA has revealed it changed the rules, so no retrospective action can be taken against players and coaches for gestures and actions anyway, unless it's really beyond, you know, a level of acceptability.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good. They've been sensible in changing that rule. I think it's now persistent gestures that's going to get you anything. So, you know, I think in the day and age, you know, when players are celebrating goals, you know, that the obvious thing is to go to the crowd. Sometimes it's not your own crowd, but if you're going to give out stuff, you've got to be able to take it, and I don't think it's offending anybody, really, you know, in this day and age.
Joe, I look at you, you had the devilment in you as a player. I mean, occasionally you would run to the opposition fans when you scored a goal.
Yeah, I would, but I wouldn't gesture in the fashion that some of these gestures have been made, but at the same time, you know, there always got to be that interaction. It makes it, you know, it makes the game interesting, it gets the crowd going, and whether you're celebrating a goal and blowing kisses or whatever, kissing the badge, that's just sort of been the done thing over the years. So, but I think there should be a bit of a crackdown, so long as there's a fine line where the players don't cross over. Yeah.
Did you enjoy the banter, that kind of?
I did. I liked it when you know, you're going up to opposition grounds and you're getting a bit of stick. I kind of enjoyed that, getting the wind up with them, and you know, although you were getting dog's abuse at times, but you know, you just thrive on that sometimes.
Yeah, I never had you down as a badge kisser though, Joe.
No, never. No, I didn't do that.
No, okay.
Unless you're going to come out with a video saying
no.
Oh, please, have one, please.
No, it would be great, wouldn't it? But there's no point in asking you if you're a badge kisser, because when you were playing, they didn't have badges on the shirt anyway.
Gloves.
I think it's players, new players at certain clubs, you know, feel as if they have to say, right, this is my club, you've always been my club, sort of a thing. But I think supporters aren't daft. You know that kissing the badge doesn't mean much, really. Yeah,
usually means you're off to a new club. Anyway, apart from anything else, we'll look tomorrow on the show at the games Hibs, Livingston and Partick Thistle against Rangers and reflect on the scorelines. But tonight we're going to look ahead to the two games coming up in the Betfred League Cup quarter-finals. Of course, Dundee against Celtic, and this one's an interesting one because slowly but surely I sense that Neil McCann's starting to get a wee bit of a positive response from his players. That win at the weekend's a huge lift for them.
Yeah, I think he's starting to you know, impose to his players what he's looking for. He's finally getting a system of play, and every player's starting to recognise that, you know, if they do what you say, then, you know, they'll get somewhere. So they're responding to what he's wanting, and you know, they're going to make life difficult for teams going to Dens Park now. So I think you know, it takes a while for any manager to bed himself in, but I think he's starting to get there now.
Yeah, and of course he faces a Celtic side that has such a huge week ahead. It's Dundee first of all, then the weekend it's the game at Ibrox against Rangers, and of course on the Wednesday following that it's Anderlecht in Belgium. But Neil McCann doesn't believe Celtic are going to be distracted by what's ahead of them. It's all about what happens in the game at Dens Park.
I don't think Celtic have ever been distracted, have they? Let's be honest. I think they've got the luxury, and I would use the word luxury because it certainly is when you look at the wealth of talent that they have at their disposal, that they can afford to change not only personnel, and it's almost like for like in terms of quality, but they can change formations readily. So no, I don't see them taking the eye off the ball whatsoever or being disrespectful to us. I think they've got the absolute luxury just to change it whenever they fancy it.
So he's got a tough job in his hands to try and become the first club to stop Celtic domestically. But Neil McCann is confident enough to suggest that Dundee not only will have to beat Celtic to win a trophy, but they want to win trophies.
And why shouldn't you have aspirations when you look at over the years? Kilmarnock have done it in this competition. Ross County clearly have done it in recent times. So there's no reason why Dundee shouldn't have aspirations to go and do it. I'm really happy with my squad here. It's building, it's progressing. We'll have ups and downs throughout the season and searching for that consistency. But I've got full belief in them, and we could have drawn easier games. There's no denying that or getting away from it. But somewhere along the lines, if you want to have a trophy in one of these cabinets here, you've got to beat Celtic.
Yep, and of course he's hoping the players can slowly but surely respond to his training methods and what he wants. He got a good response from AJ Leach-Smith. He got a couple at the weekend in that 3-2 win over St Johnstone.
And he looks a tidy player, you know. You know, I think it's all on confidence and consistency with the players, but sometimes, you know, when you're coming up against a team like Celtic that you're going to do tomorrow night, it's going to be difficult for them. So they're going to have to make life difficult for Celtic. So Neil's got to come up with a game plan that the players have got to adhere to. But at the same time, you know, it's a big ask because Celtic are playing with a lot of confidence domestically. You know, scoring goals left, right, and centre. And you ask yourself, how are you going to stop them?
Yeah, well, and with that in mind, this is where I'm intrigued over two managers. One, a rookie manager in Neil McCann and how he sets his stall out against Celtic. And then, of course, the more experienced coach in Pedro Caixinha on Saturday, how he sets his stall out, which is the big conundrum for everyone, how he's going to take on Celtic at Ibrox. Is he going to pack the midfield, or is he going to go 4-4-2, which many feel would be an act of folly? But for Neil McCann, it'll be interesting to see how he sets it out and compare and contrast, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think both managers have to look at the strengths of Celtic, you know, and they'll probably have a different idea from us where they think that strength is. It might be the two wide players, it might be centre of midfield, you know, it might be somebody up front, but they'll certainly have their own ideas, you know, how they're going to stop them. It was a good result for Dundee at the weekend. I'm not convinced yet that they're there yet. You know, I think if you look at that game closely, I thought the St Johnstone goalkeeper had a mess of one of them. I don't think the other goal was a penalty either. So I think you got a wee rub of the green that they'll take any time at the weekend. But it remains to be seen whether they are really back on track, because as he said there, Celtic will go up there with so many players in their pool. I don't think any of us know what the best 11 is going to be. So we'll have to wait and see what the team selection is.
We'll hear from Brendan Rodgers after the break. But just on the point of Dundee, I mean, you're talking about the likes of Scott Allen and Paul McGowan were on the bench at the weekend. So he's clearly changing it sometimes. Sometimes I think, you know, when you're battling for points, Joe, you're battling to win cup games, sometimes the ball players are, you know, jettisoned in favour of people who are just going to keep it tight workhorses. That's
right. That's where he's got to change. He's got to judge for himself. You know, this is going to be a game. I don't think it's going to be ideal for the flair players where we come up against other teams in opposition that, you know, I can have a go there, but I'll maybe have to go defensive and get hard-working players that's going to grind out a result, work hard, give everything they can for 90 minutes, and that's what he's got to have, you know. And if they get a chance to break away, you know, maybe get something from a free kick or a set piece, you know, they might get an opportunity. But at the same time, it's all about being really disciplined in their approach to the game for the full 90 minutes, because Celtic will go out and get them for 90 minutes, even more than 90 minutes.
Yeah, and the other good thing, after the break, Joe is going to let us into a little secret. Sometimes Ruffy and I have picked trebles and we haven't quite worked out how to get the winning formula, but Joe Miller's going to give us a winning formula that you might want to get involved in as well. Everything in moderation as far as gambling is concerned, but this one from Joe is a tip that'll keep us all happy. The other thing I've got to let you into a secret is Joe doesn't like quizzes. He's just not playing with it. Maybe it's just something that kids do. He's not up for this quiz at all. Doesn't even want to answer the question because Ruffy says he's on fire at the moment. Have a look, see what you think. Nothing worse in a competition when someone changes their mind at the last minute just so they can get the points. But that's Joe, who didn't want to play the quiz in the first place. Now you're right into it, Joe, eh?
That's not bad, that's
OK, and just before we go and start talking about Dundee's opposition, Joe, you said something to me just before we started the programme, which is quite interesting on, you know, if you do have a wee flutter, Ruffy and I usually, you know, have the odd fiver here and there, but you've been doing something regularly.
I've been watching you guys last year, putting on your wee flutter, picking your teams, your doubles and trebles and your cooking. But if you watch for the top sides, like Celtic and Barcelona, even PSG, you know, they usually do very well. So I think last season Celtic won roughly about 24, 20, maybe 25 games with 3 goals or more. So it's worth a flutter putting it on, but like Barcelona and PSG.
Yep.
So they run about the same time. They usually score 2 or 3 goals.
Okay. And
sometimes 4.
Yeah, it's well worth looking into in the stats anyway. And who knows, you could even be dressing like Joe in the future as well with all your winnings.
Yeah.
So,
Will you be doing that this weekend?
No.
Brilliant, Ruffy, you just reeled him in there. That's what's called walking down Sunky Street with a cap on.
I'll leave my
Ruffy.
prediction till later.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, Neil McCann was talking about squad rotation. Brendan Rodgers obviously is well aware that for certain games he can shift players in and out.
No, but we've got a strong squad for a purpose, and the purpose being that we play so many games and we have a level of performance that we need to aspire to every single time we play in every game. So but the players bought into that really early on, you know, when we set our scheme of work and how we want to work here. You know, the players understand that that's how it's going to be for us, you know. So if you're training and not in the team, you know that you're training with a purpose, that you're going to play and you're going to be asked to play. And it's vitally important, because the same group of players cannot play with the energy and intensity of which I want. So all the players respect that.
I think that's one thing that he is good at, Joey. You know, he convinces players who are not getting a game that they still have a vital part to play, and that keeps them happy.
I can go back to when I was working under Sir Alex Ferguson and even Billy McNeil. That squad rotation, you know, even players being left out, it was getting into that mindset of players. Although a lot of players are disappointed being left out or dropped, doesn't mean to say that I'm not going to make an impact, because he's 100% right there. Throughout the whole season, you can't go with the same 11 players week in, week out. There's got to be players that have got to come in, change a system. You know, there'll be players coming back from injury, things like that. So that's why it's vital for players to have the right attitude in training and be ready that if they go on gone in there with a purpose and they've got to play and try and keep their place. But at the same time, you know, it's down to the player's mentality to be ready week in, week out, whether he's, you know, not in the starting 11 or not.
Yep. Brendan Rodgers will encounter Neil McCann as a manager for the first time. More often than not, he was sitting alongside him, sometimes in a studio after a game, talking to Neil. But this time, the Celtic boss is full of praise for the Dundee manager's decision to switch away from punditry to the place in the dugout.
He looks to me, and I don't know Neil that well, but he was a fantastic player, and I think he's looking at his teams to try and play with that sort of, you know, charisma and that comfort with the ball. You know, they've been playing 4-4-2. He's trying against the odds at times to get the players to want to build the game from behind. You know, so he's trying to not just win, but he's trying to win in a way which is important to him, which is always great, and it's never easy. You know, when you go into your first job and you have a philosophy and you have an idea of all the games you've sat and watched and commentated on, and now the spotlight's now on you. But I think he's handled himself very, very well. Yeah, I think so too. I've been impressed with Neil McCann early on.
Yeah, I was impressed for Dundee right at the beginning, you know, particularly when they were up at Aberdeen. I think Aberdeen won eventually in the end, but if you looked at that game closely, Dundee could have got something out of that game and something out of some of their other games, not obviously at Ibrox, but most of the other games I thought they were playing good football, and I was surprised, as you said, they'd left McGowan out and Allen, and the boy O'Hara for me was a big player for them. He's not been playing either, so if he can keep on a winning run, you know, obviously the confidence will be high, and get into Celtic, their confidence will be high because it's always good to get a win.
Yeah, what do you make of the players getting new contracts? Slowly but surely, Brendan Rodgers seems to be rewarding the players that got him over the line for the treble. He's already highlighted that Dedryck Boyata is next in line for a new deal.
Yeah, I think he's doing the right thing, because I think over the past few years at Celtic, you know, any the good players that came to the club were probably just getting moved on after 2 or 3 years. But Brendan's slowly but surely building a good squad there. They're all good young players. They've got a great respect for one another on and off the park. So he's got a good dressing room there. So I think he's trying to build something, you know, where they could all still play together, and that's good. There's that continuity with the side, and you don't want to really be breaking up a winning side.
Yeah. Have they missed Boyata in your mind?
No, I don't think.
No?
So. No, I think, you know, there are players out there that he must have in mind whether he gets them at the January window. But I think, you know, he's happy with the squad that he's got. I think they could have done with another centre half. But I think he knows what he's doing, and it's, you know, it's just build on from here. He's
been criticised for not getting a centre half in that window ahead of games like Paris Saint-Germain. Would Boyata have made that much of a difference? Who knows, Ruffy?
Yeah, I think he would have. I always think if you get into these big games, you want a recognised centre half. You don't want to be shuffling the pack at the back, you know, moving Lustig in, playing the young boy Ralston, who's done particularly well. I mean, I'm not saying it would have made a drastic difference, but certainly having Simonovic and Boyata together, who were together in the European campaign last year and did okay, you know, that you would like to think it's a positive move to get him back. And as we've seen with Brendan Rodgers, is he's not frightened of just throwing somebody in there if they haven't been playing for a while. If he thinks he's fit enough, then he'll go into the game. Yeah,
as far as team selection is concerned, OK, he's going to shift a few players around, Joe, and give them that run out. Can you see him playing two up front, not only against Dundee, but can you see him play two up front against Rangers, because he has the Dembele and Griffiths option now?
I think, you know, that was a big plus for him, getting Dembele back. You know, the player wants himself to be playing in these type of matches coming in, but he's coming in at it's a big game. It's to everybody, all the fans, everybody looks forward to that. It's a kind of a pressure pot. But I think Brendan will be looking to, you know, ease him in, because sometimes you can throw him in at the deep end, play him from the start, and, you know, he could get injured again. So I think he might just take a chance with just, you know, putting him on the bench and maybe bringing him on. And go with Griffiths up front and keep to the system that he's been playing.
Of course, there's a hectic schedule ahead for Celtic, but Celtic goalkeeper Craig Gordon says they can handle it.
Big part of the season this early on. So the League Cup now is the finals before the turn of the year, so there's games in that, and also we have to make sure we're still having a good start, even though the European games, obviously the travelling and everything that can take a little bit out of a squad, but we have to make sure that domestically we're still winning games and progressing in all the competitions. So yeah, we know it's going to be busy, but we've got a big squad and a really talented group, so we're confident going into the next phase of games, however many it may be over the next few weeks, to really go on and keep performing well.
If you're going to be critical of him in certain games, Ruff, if he makes a mistake, you must give him full praise for the double save he made in the game against Ross County. I mean, that was top drawer.
Oh, it's the save of the season for me. It would take a really spectacular effort to beat that. You know, not only not the first save, but obviously the second one. It's a natural reaction as a goalkeeper. While the ball's still in play, you get up and you go for it. But it was an absolutely tremendous reflex save.
And
save of the season.
He just mentioned there. I like the fact that the League Cup is now going to be decided before the end of the year.
Yeah, I think that's the way it used to be years ago. We used to play the final in November.
Yeah.
But I think it works out much better. It suits Celtic, it suits the squads, and it will help them in the European competition as well.
How many League Cup medals do you have, Joe?
I think it's 2 runners-up, 1 winner.
Yeah. What was the one winner for you?
For Aberdeen it was against Dundee.
Yeah, 3-0 was that?
Yep.
Dodds
and Shearer scored.
That's right, at Hampden. No point in asking you, Ruffy, because you've made a career out of it. 4-0, as he keeps reminding us, just in case you're a youngster who hasn't heard about Ruffy's 1971 League Cup triumph. Just got to ask you guys, if Celtic are not going to win it, give me a name of a team that will win this League Cup.
Hibs.
Hibs could get there, yeah. I think they could get to the final, but I don't know if they'll win it.
Okay, give me another name.
Celtic.
If they don't win it.
If they don't win it.
Aberdeen.
Aberdeen. Okay. Now you know why he doesn't like quizzes. We'll be back after the break. See if we can get some more answers out of Joe. Have a look at this. Joe, we're striking back here on the show. Joe just dips his head there as that point slips away from him. Ruffy's not happy about it.
No, he was miles out there, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But he still won up. He still got one.
Yeah, you still to get a point, Ruffy, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I thought I might have got out of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, so did I.
You were in the Twilight Zone.
Exactly.
I took my daughter. I took my daughter to Disneyland when she was 4, and I thought I was taking her into the Peter Pan ride, and it was the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Never recovered.
Frightened the life out of her.
Never recovered.
Okay. Just remember, if you are taking your daughter on any of these rides at all fairgrounds, don't go on the Twilight Zone one. Even I was scared on that one, Joe. And of course, Joe can't go on it because he isn't the right height. Okay, let's crack on now. with Motherwell against. With Motherwell against. With Motherwell again. Stop. Right, with Motherwell against Aberdeen, Joe. I wish I hadn't started that one. Your old club. I tell you, Aberdeen fans expect Aberdeen to be in, not semi-final, I think they expect them to be in the final.
Yeah, I think, we keep seeing this for the past couple of years now. I mean, they're looking to get into cup finals, at least, and challenge for the league. And they've been doing that. I mean, Derek McInnes, he's been building good sides over the years, even though he's lost a lot of really good players, talented players who have contributed to their success over the past couple of seasons. But he's done it again, and he's rebuilt, and he's got a great side there.
Are they better than last season for you?
I don't know. I've not seen enough of them yet, but I think you know, on the basis of things, you know, on paper, he's got a good squad there. He's still going to lay that challenge down, and I think it's all down to consistency and not slipping up again, you know, against the teams that are at the lower end of the table.
Yeah.
Because he's going to do well.
I thought the weekend result was one of those ones where, you know, when you talk about closing the gap on Celtic, Aberdeen, you're looking at. I still think Rangers are a work in progress, but Aberdeen you're looking to and you're saying, you've got to beat Kilmarnock. No disrespect to Lee McCulloch and his team.
Yeah, you've got to do that. I mean, that's a place where they should go and get 3 points. And I think they know that themselves. They've got to stop all these kind of slip-ups. I mean, even the players were speaking about it in the papers over the past couple of days. But it's down to their mentality and their confidence. And you know, they can go on a run. They've done that in the past few seasons. They can go on a run of 10, 15 games, you know, undefeated. So I don't see why not they can't continue that this season. Yeah,
and of course Motherwell will be on a high after coming back from 2 goals down against Hibernian at the weekend. And off the back of that, of course, they've had a good start to the season, Stephen Robinson's side, and Derek McInnes is well aware of their qualities.
I think we're going to have to make sure we have enough competitiveness about us, enough battling qualities. I think we need to show good resilience and strength. But we've also got to bring that thought and hopefully quality to win the game. But they're a good side. I think there's they've got a good identity. They know what they are. They get good shape about them. You can see that Steve's brought players to play a system, and I think in the front two, they actively get them involved in the game really quickly. They play forward into them, and they get good support around about them. So they've got, as I say, a physical threat, but they're a very fit and organised team, and I think Steve's will be delighted the way the team has started the season, and we've got a tough game, no doubt.
No surprise Derek McInnes was complimentary towards the likes of Louis Moult. I think Aberdeen wanted Moult in the summer transfer window. In the end, I think, strangely enough, he's really pulled out a real diamond in Stevie May.
Yes, I think he has. Although I thought he maybe scored, I know he scored 3 cracking goals, but I expect a lot more from him. I think he'll be up about 15, maybe 20 by the end of the season. I think the
that
goal,
many?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think Aberdeen are getting the ball wide as often as possible, firing balls into the box. He's a kind of striker in the box, you know, who'll be that half yard sharper than everybody else, and he's proved with the goal he scored at the weekend. It was a great touch, and then obviously the volley in. So I think the more supply he gets, the better. It'd be interesting to see if they can fit Rooney into that scenario with him and, you know, feeding off somebody like Rooney. And again, we'll have to wait and see what his team selection is.
Yeah, Derek McInnes glowing in his praise of Stevie May.
I think the 3 goals he scored have been all different, but all real quality, and he's brought a different dynamic to our front line. I think he's the type of boy that will score plenty of goals for us, and you know, again, he's one of the ones that we spoke about, you know, a couple of weeks ago, where he's had 2 years of not playing, so to expect him to be the complete article of where we expect him to be going forward, to expect him to be that at the minute is maybe unrealistic, but I think we'll get there. What I said a few weeks ago, I says, well, we're working him to get to that stage. He'll always score goals.
What do you make of him, Joe?
I thought a few years ago when he was at St Johnstone, I thought if a bigger club takes a chance on him, he'll do very well. Playing around good players that are going to give him supply. And now I think, I know he took his move down south and it didn't work out for him, but I think he's at a club now where he's going to improve, and he's going to improve because he's going to get game time, he's playing with good players, he's going to get chances, and he knows where the goals is, and I think he's a talented young player that's going to cause a lot of problems for teams. You know, even he can score outside the box and inside the box. He is a danger man, and that's what Aberdeen need. They need a striker, a recognised striker that's maybe going to score 20, 25, 30 goals a season, and that, you know, I think he could be the man.
Yeah, and of course, as you mentioned, Ruffy, Adam Rooney, sometimes he's his sidekick, sometimes he comes off at the bench as well. The Don striker has been assessing their form since the start of the season.
The games we've played well, control games, and then there's probably just moments of slackness that have gone against us and then given the other team momentum. So we'll work hard to make sure that doesn't happen. But still a new squad, a lot of lads still gelling together, and the team's looking stronger each game. I think we've shown in glimpses of how good we can be, and just hopefully on Thursday tonight we can put in a complete performance.
Well, Rooney and May have said they've got to be more ruthless. They'll need to start that against Motherwell on Thursday night. If I can mention, in contrast to what Aberdeen have to offer, Motherwell maybe don't have as many prolific players, but they certainly got Louis Moult, who's a constant threat. I like Chris Cadden. Ryan Bowman's been another one, and another guy that I think they've brought that's been an absolute gem for them is Kipri.
Yeah, I would agree with Bowman. I've been really impressed with him. He's a terrific foil for Louis Moult. He does a lot of the spade work out left. He's got a lot of pace. He's not frightened to have a shot from distance, and as it proved at the weekend there, the two of them really work well together. I just think, you've mentioned the new centre back, but I just think that is the only weakness in it. Motherwell just now, they don't look strong as what they used to be with Steve McManus and the experienced players there. Maybe that'll come in time. They'll get to know each other a wee bit better. I thought some of the goals they lost at the weekend were poor, but certainly you're right. Cadden, the midfield, is definitely a Scotland player of the future, and if he keeps playing like that, unfortunately for Motherwell, they've already had a couple of bids in for him, so he'll be one they want to try and hold on to.
Yeah, you say a couple of the goals they lost at the weekend were poor. They lost a penalty, Ruffy, which was just a joke.
I know. Well, I think that's what I meant the other way around. It was a fact. It was. It was just shocking. So now that you've reminded me, and now I'm thinking about it. But no, you know what I mean. I think in the centre half position, he could have done better. The centre half, with Stokes' goal, he never put his foot through the ball. But that'll come just with playing with each other. Yeah,
home advantage then doesn't sway it for you. You're going Aberdeen.
No, I'm going to go Aberdeen eventually, but I think it'll be very, very tight, and I think it might go the whole road.
Okay, Joe.
I'll go Aberdeen.
Aberdeen. Couple of little stories I want to get your thoughts on. You're talking about players that may be moving. You mentioned Cadden, you mentioned Louis Moult. Some of the papers this morning just talking about a guy you mentioned at the weekend, Jordan Jones, attracting attention, and Jai Katongo.
Yeah, well, Katongo obviously had a bid put in for him. I can't remember exactly why it was turned down. Maybe they didn't think it was enough, and then the boy picked up a bad injury. But he's on fire this year. He's come back fully fit. And obviously it's eye-catching, some of the goals he scores. Both of them sort of are similar players. The boy Johns looked absolutely fantastic at the weekend. Every time he got the ball, traditional winger, want to go by people and whip balls into the box. And as we saw at the weekend, he can score goals as well.
Yeah, Jai's not quite a carbon copy of his dad, to be perfectly honest with you. There's usually a ball for Jose and then a ball for everybody else playing with him.
Jose was an exceptional talent, still is. You still see him in the circuit playing six-a-sides and things like that. But, his son's, he has got that similarity, the low centre of gravity and the balance. He can go by players. He's really good on the ball, comfortable on the ball, and he wants the ball. So, it'll be no surprise if somebody picks him up.
Okay, after the break we're going to talk about what could be a small bonus for Celtic regarding one of the players who's out of the Champions League in Celtic's group. We'll also discuss a little fallout with two players also playing for a team in Celtic's group. The fact that they've fallen out has prompted a story which I think will get Joe and Ruffy with a smile on their face. One player thinks the other player should be sold from the club. We'll tell you about that story after the break. We were all over the place with that one, Ruffy.
In the wrong decade.
Yeah.
No, but the consolation is I was nearest.
Yeah, you can have half a point for that.
Quarter point.
Okay, quite a few things here. Adam Lallana's 29, by the way.
No, I went on the assumption
That
it was 25, 26.
Yeah, that completely threw me as well, guys. Just a couple of things before we start talking further afield in European football and English football. John Robertson's had a little bit of a pop, Ruffy, at some of the more experienced players in the Inverness side. He reckons basic mistakes cost them in their 3-1 loss to Livingston. They've only got 1 win in 6 matches. It's taking him a wee bit of time to get a response from them.
Yeah, but I'll be hoping that the owners who gave him the job can see what he's tried to do when he came in, or what he's had to do. But when you're a new manager getting in there, the first people you look at is the experienced players. You know, you think they're the one. If you've got 5 or 6, you would like to think they're the ones that can sort things out for you, and then you sort of fill the spaces round about them. But if they're not, if he thinks they're not performing properly, then he's got a hard task ahead of him.
Yep. I like Robbo. I think he's got good coaching qualities. I think the problem sometimes for Inverness is they've been down trading since Yogi left.
I've always had an opinion that you know, they struggle to attract the players that are going to go up there, enjoy living up there.
Yeah.
You know, and get settled at Inverness. And it was the same years ago with Aberdeen. The players used to, because that was the furthest away travelling side, and you know, it was Glasgow boys that used to go up and they wanted to be home every week. But I think it's difficult for teams like Ross County and Inverness to get players that are going to settle there. So it's going to be difficult to attract that good player. But Robo's done a reasonably good job just now. He's trying to steady the ship because I think it was in a real bad state last year.
I think it depends on the expectations
of
what they want in Inverness this year. You know, if the expectation is give him a year to bring his own players in and just get a reasonable position in the league, then that might be okay for him, and then he'll be judged on it next year.
I think the expectation, Joe, is quite simply straight back up.
Straight back up. I think that is the expectation because you know, they've came down, but at the same time, he's not got the resources. And that's what I say. It's difficult to find these players, you know, the good players that are maybe around the west coast of Scotland who want to be around the west coast of Scotland.
Sometimes you can look for just even a modicum of optimism when it comes to players who pick up injuries, especially in the Champions League with the way Celtic were hammered by PSG. Bayern Munich's goalkeeper Manuel Neuer is out until January, Ruffy, so he's going to miss both games against Celtic. That would be a bonus for Celtic if Bayern were deciding not to play with a goalkeeper, I think. But I don't think it's going to make a blind bit of difference, do you?
No, I'm sure the reserve goalkeeper will not be as good as Neuer, but I don't think he'll be far behind him. And at the end of the day, I think if Bayern Munich are relying on their goalkeeper to win games for them, then...
Yeah. Why do you always say Bayern Munich? It annoys the life out of me.
Old school Bayern.
Munich. Munich.
München.
Okay, I move on because I'm just wasting my time. Here's my favourite story, Joe. Now, I'm going to read you the newspaper story only due to the fact that I don't... I mean, sometimes there's no smoke without fire, but I'm finding it hard to think this one has got any substance so far. It could have. So, the story starts with, of course, PSG beat Lyon by 2-0. Okay? But Edison Cavani and Neymar have had a little tete-a-tete over who's taking the penalty kick. Cavani takes it and misses it. So apparently they've had a little bit of... they've had to be kept apart in the dressing room, which happens, you know. So now the story, and this is fantastic because it's gathered its growing arms and legs by now. Spanish newspaper Sport claims that Neymar has instructed PSG to offload Cavani as soon as possible.
I thought he only took him off his Facebook.
Yeah, well, funny you should say that. He has actually taken him off his Facebook, but now the story seems to have gathered pace where he's saying, no, get him out the door. I mean, I can't for the life of me believe he's got that kind of power.
No, I don't believe that either. You know, I don't think any player's got that sort of power. But no, I don't believe any of that, actually.
Yeah, Ruffy, it's a hard one
It's
to
a
take. I mean,
bad-
players
oh.
do get separated. They can come to fisticuffs. That's happened,
Yeah,
hasn't
yeah,
it?
but it's not only bad, if it is true, it's not only bad for they two, but it's bad for the whole squad, you know, because the other players in the dressing room think that one guy is going to have that much clout. It just causes so much unrest. You would like to think that it's something that's got out of hand in the newspapers and somebody's dealing with it internally, because that's something you want to really nip in the bud very, very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely, because you've got to try and keep the £200 million man happy as well. And Cavani's strike rate last season was exceptional, Joe, so you can't exactly bump him out the door.
No, if it was me and I missed a penalty, I think quite a few people would be quite happy I moved. But no, I don't believe any of
Did
that.
you ever have a fight in the dressing room?
No, after I missed it, no.
No, and I just mean in general, not just necessarily missing a
Oh,
penalty.
there was a lot of arguments.
Yeah, yeah.
Aye. Oh, there was plenty of that.
Anybody you were scared of?
No.
No?
No.
That's what I like about you, Joe. It doesn't matter. You'd go straight in there, wouldn't you?
Always got a leg up.
I've watched lots of good fights in the dressing room.
No, you're not a fighter, though.
Oh, it's great watching them rolling about. It's fantastic. You know, I think you were there at the time. Big Mick frightened me a wee bit.
Mike McCarthy.
Mick McCarthy, when he came in at half time and he wasn't too happy. That was. I was just waiting to see who would take him up on it, but there wasn't very many, was there?
That was just a practice match.
Mick, a fearsome character even now if Ipswich Town are getting defeated in any game. Anyway, apart from that, I move on to a couple of the stories from down south. Now, one of them is a serious story, just basically because I think it has a slight edge to it, Ruffy, you know, and I'll offer a note of caution on it. Coming up in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be heavily involved in the Show Racism the Red Card campaign. But the actual team behind it, I think Kick It Out, has called for the Man United fans to stop singing a song about Lukaku stereotyping his manhood. I mean, it's a strange story to gather a bit of pace, but I think all forms of stereotyping and racism is something that we need to try and take a firm hand on.
I thought we were winning it. I really did. You know, I hadn't seen a lot.
This is Man United fans singing about their own
Yeah,
player.
I know. I mean, it just shows you some. I mean, thankfully, I mean, it's not every supporter. It's probably a small segment, but they're doing it, and the small segment it's doing it shouldn't be. So again, we just have to keep thumping into everybody that's something in this day and age we don't want to hear.
Yeah, Joe, Ruffy thinks we're winning it. I sometimes think, you know, despite laws being in place, sometimes I think there's an undercurrent of people who try and get away with it.
Yeah, and that's what I say. It's up to the stewards and people round about to point them out. I know he made a comment last year, Ruffy.
Yeah, I'm not saying it this year.
But we'll know it in there. But I think it's, you know, it should be stamped out. I mean, just judge the player for what he is. I mean, he was getting a bit of stick right prior to he scored the goal at the weekend, you know, and
from the Everton fans.
For the Everton fans, they made the gesture. So, you know, he could just go about his business not in a normal fashion.
Yeah, I'm sure they can come up with other great songs about him scoring goals for United. Here's a strange one, Ruffy. Rio Ferdinand says goodbye to football, and suddenly, you know, he's been working out and he's sprung it on everybody this morning. He's going to go into boxing.
Yeah, well, I think when he stopped playing, he was very active and letting everybody know what he was doing, whether he was in the gym or whatever. He's not the first guy that's done that, you know, that he must really
like Gordon Smith,
fancy himself in the boxing, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Gordon's done that.
Yeah, he has, but...
you wanted to do...
what?
You wanted to do...
Sumo.
No.
Sumo wrestling.
Did you not fancy beach volleyball, Ruffy?
Mixed.
Yeah, absolutely. Your tennis, absolutely, as well. But listen, I'm not too sure about that. Listen, he's got the muscles, he's got the physique. He looks the part now, unless somebody's been airbrushing the muscles on. But he looks the business.
There's a video on the you know, on the internet regarding, you know, he's kind of training for it as well.
Yeah.
And he's getting a ball thrown at him, bounced off the wall. So
why would you have to start at that? Well, you can obviously go right into professional boxing.
Well,
you have to have a licence, obviously.
I think that's going to be the biggest problem. But he's got some good coaches behind him, giving him lessons. But whether he gets any fight of note or the British Boxing Board of Control give him any sort of licence, I don't know. He's 38. He's not over the hill, but nevertheless,
at least his face can't get any worse. That's a bonus.
He's a good-looking boy, actually, Rio. Honestly, what do you like? Just if there was one sport, Joe, that you would like to have been playing rather than being a successful footballer, what would it have been?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Tennis.
Tennis, you fancy that? Well, that's quite interesting, Ruffy. I presume you would have loved to have played at Wimbledon.
Yes, I'd love to have played in the finals at Wimbledon against Joe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he wouldn't be able to jump the net at the end.
Yeah, well, I must
Obviously.
at this point, I must apologise for us stereotyping wee Joe. But it's as simple as that. For being a wee guy, he was a cracking player.
Yeah.
Anyway, there were no songs about him, but nevertheless, delighted to have him on the show. Joe Miller with us on the programme, and I'm sure he'll be back with us if we can get a cushion just to get him a wee bit elevated on that chair. From Ruffy and myself, thanks for watching the programme. Good night.